always been there.
And that's what I mean. You've been able to ignore it while it's not been affected.
This is why I say the bigger issue was Toronto getting in so easily in the first place, rather than having an understanding of these frictions and problems and being able to get people on board with the positive side of it, rather than people just worrying about the... And it was good to see New York were at the grand final, but they were there saying, we're here with so-and-so from Hilton Europe and Virgin Atlantic's UK base and stuff, some of their potential sponsors that were there with them, because at least then you're seeing something tangible from the off. I don't know.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, linking up with an airline and a hotel chain is probably the first thing you'd want to do, isn't it?
It makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
Makes total sense, doesn't it? Makes total sense, and it's big good commercialism.
Big brands that aren't involved in our sport at the moment, so who knows?
Yeah,
anyway.
Exactly.
Right, so they were some of the... They weren't necessarily the most positive, happy topics to cover off, but people asked us to talk about them, and we always like to talk about what the people ask us to talk about. I hope we've answered some of those questions that people have there. What we're going to do now is move on to what is the start of a celebration. We're going to celebrate the best players in our competition and the best sides in our competition as we talk about the SLP Dream Team, and then we'll talk about the grand finals. So we'll move on to talk about the 2019 SLP Dream Team. So it is time to announce the 2019 SLP Dream Team. We're going to start with first of all, I want to start by thanking everyone who voted, and a couple of these positions were right up for grabs until the last block of voting that came in on Sunday afternoon after the grand final, which closed on Sunday night. So it was quite exciting following this along and seeing who was getting the votes and how they came in bunches for certain players after certain games had happened, and then things like that, which was very exciting. But the first position, we started with a short list of 2 only for the fullback position, and the winner that came out of that was the Super League Dream Team winner as well. It was Lachlan Coote, who won with 52% of the vote, so very close race in the fullback position. But that's it now. Definitely we can't have a recount. It's definitely Lachlan Coote with 52% of the vote. Well done to him in his first season in Super League. Alan, do you want to take us through the wingers?
Yep. So a clear winner, first choice here, Tommy Makinson, chosen by 85% of voters, and joining him, his partner at Saints, Regan Grace, with 33% of the vote. So
that was the first one that went against the Dream Team, where it was Ash Hanley. I actually picked Ash Hanley for mine, so I was more in line with the actual Dream Team for my second choice winger there. But yeah, clear first choice winger. Did you two have anything different in those positions?
I picked Ash Handley as well.
I think I went for Regan Grace only just because I knew, just to counteract you, Mark, because I know what you like with Regan.
I feel like I have to now come out and say Regan Grace has met his potential. He's solved some of the things that I had big question marks about, because I've seen him consistently now finish in tight spaces, make sensible decisions rather than just try and do something like a bit impetuously. I think he's, other than the hurdling thing, but
I like that hurdling, by the way. I know it's not supposed to be done, but I like it.
No, he's realised his potential for me now. David, do you want to take us through the 2 centres that were picked by the listeners?
Yep, so in another change to the Dream Team, instead of Conrad Hurrell, we've got Oliver Gildart with 59% of the vote. I voted for Oliver Gildart. And as in the Dream Team, we've got Kevin Nakama, who got 53% of the vote.
So Oliver Gildart, the only centre in the Great Britain squad, and the Super League pod, well, the only true centre, I suppose you could argue, in the Great Britain squad, and the Super League pod listeners agree that he should be in that squad based on that result, I would suggest.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
Yeah, can't disagree.
Did you two go anything different in those positions yourselves?
No, I voted for both of those.
Yeah, I'd say Gildart's been the best. Yeah, for me, he's been the best centre this year.
I think I might have gone for Harry Newman as my second. But Kevin De Guam has been fantastic. Mark Percival, who was the third best voted for, has been fantastic as well. Okay, into the halfbacks with a remarkable 95% of voters picking this guy as one of their two halfbacks. It's Jackson Hastings, the man of steel, and alongside him is the Albert Goldthorpe winner from this year from the League Express newspaper, and that's Johnny Lomax. He got 51% of the vote, and this was how I went as well. So I don't any arguments from you guys for who else should have been in there.
No, I'd like to talk to the 5% who didn't vote for Jackson Hastings.
He's got to be very biased about their own side.
Got to be.
No, he's got to be, and he's such a lovely fellow as well, isn't he? So that was the third difference that we had to the official Dream Team as well, where Blake Austin of Warrington was in the 2019 Super League Dream Team.
Do you think possibly the different voting method of just on objective opinions over the whole season is kind of a reason why Austin, whose season was kind of over in July?
There's definitely been a recency bias with this, definitely.
Well, into the props then, Alan. Do you want to take us through who got the SLP Dream Team spots there?
Yep, so no surprise here. Luke Thompson, 76%, almost as many percentage points as minutes played in the grand final. If only he hadn't cramped up, he might have made 80 minutes. And no real surprise, actually, with the second choice here. I think very popular as well. Liam Watts with 47% of the vote.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Liam Watts probably when we get to the Great Britain squad later on, because I think his selection in this side reflects a lot of people's views on his non-selection in the Great Britain squad.
Yeah.
Who was hooker then, David?
Hooker, Darryl Clark. To be honest, I'm surprised it was only 47% because he's been, for me, the outstanding hooker in Super League this year.
Yeah, I think the other two people played in the playoffs, which is maybe why it was only 47% when the vote was open. Yeah. He got himself... he was out of there, even though he was maybe their best player in that game. Okay, on to the second row, where it was the Super League Dream Team selection repeated, and it was Josh Jones with 68% of the vote. No one who voted after Salford beat Castleford didn't vote for Josh Jones, I think. And Liam Farrell with 49% of the vote as well. He was shooting ahead at the start. But those two were selected for the second row. Alan, do you want to complete the side then with the loose forward?
Yep, so again, probably no surprise here, matching the actual official Dream Team. But Morgan Knowles was loose forward with 63% of the votes.
Yeah, absolutely no arguments on that one from me at all. He's been fantastic all year, and it's a shame that injury denies him a place in the Great Britain squad.
Yeah, it is.
Excellent. Well done to all of those people that made the SLP Dream Team. Like you pointed out, David, 3 changes from the Super League Dream Team, but I think ours is better. I'm going to say that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Right, now let's move on to the Super League Grand Final match reviews, and we're going to talk about both Super League Grand Finals. Okay, so we're going to start our recaps then with the Women's Grand Final, which was played out at St Helens' Totally Wicked Stadium on Friday night, and it was between the Leeds Rhinos and the table-topping Castleford Tigers. The match finished 20 points to 12 in favour of Leeds, who were trailing 8 points to 4 at half-time. 1,673 were there. Greg Dolan was the referee. We got some fan views in on this. Do you want to start us off through them, David?
Yep. So Karsten says, I'm not sure if it's right to call the women's side chokers, but they bottled the third final against Leeds in a row. Cass need a psychotherapist more than a coach.
I think it's perfectly appropriate because they are.
Yeah.
Dr. Bob says, what a game. Nerves and occasion probably ruled the first half, but some good cast tries. Leeds running plays were exceptional. Only per choice, the first try run to the corner rather than an inside pass for a kickable goal. Winning big games is an art the Rhinos still have. And then he said wheelchairs and women's games. Well, to be fair, the men haven't really had an opportunity, but there you go.
Well, I suppose they did have big games. It's just those big games were against London and Wakefield and Huddersfield and Hull KR. Mark Butler said, this was the first time I made an appointment to watch a women's game, and it won't be the last. It looked like it might get ugly after a few minutes, but cast mistakes listed the rest of the game and ultimately cost them a match they could have wrapped up. A couple of old-school Afire-esque tries were nice to see. Let's hope the inevitable rise in standards doesn't see these off for good.
Fat Boy Rob kept it short and sweet. First 10 minutes, good. Next 70 minutes, bad.
And Rich Wilkinson says, a cracking result with some cracking tries. Fair play to Cass for having a real dig early doors, but the Rhinos' fitness was the difference in the end. After early errors, Leeds found their way into the game and got the job done. Same old Cass, always bottling, marching on together. Thank God for the Rhinos women this year.
Yeah, so we were both there, Alan, and we enjoyed the event. Well, I don't want to speak too much. I enjoyed the event. I think playing. It was the first women's game I'd watched under lights, and I do think that the whole presentation of the event made it feel like a big final, which is what it was. Now, not to go too far away from the fact of the matter that these are women playing in the community game who aren't paid for their efforts. A lot of them are very young kids.
Yes.
And as well, on top of that. So you know, to have it presented in such a way that replicated how the men's grand final, which was played out between full-time professionals who've probably most of them never had to do another day's work in their life, let alone having to be at work that day, is, you know, it I think was fantastic for in terms of how the event was done.
Yeah, I'd have to echo that. As you say, it did. Yeah, I mean, rugby league under the lights does have a special feeling to it anyway. And yeah, I echo that. It's definitely the first women's game I've seen under lights. Yeah, it felt, you know, a great stadium to hold in as well, kind of appropriate. I know it was a kind of a last minute replacement, but you know, it stood in well. Fans were making lots of noise. There was lots of kind of backwards and forwards between the two sets of fans. I felt we were sat slightly, almost halfway between the both sets, really.
We were, yeah. We were in the neutral paddock, even though we had
the neutral paddock,
fans with us. It was supposed to be the neutral part, and I think it was mostly neutral. Although a lot of the neutrals, it felt, were going for Leeds, which was strange. It was very strange.
Well, I suppose, yeah. I mean, I suppose they would still be the underdog, even though they had a great record against Cass, just in terms of league form. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I have to say, as Rob says, I thought it was going to be a demolition by Cass in the first 10.
Yeah,
but it wasn't to be that way.
Obviously, Leeds brought all their errors to the start of the game. You know, they didn't really. They made a couple of errors again just after half time as well that put themselves under pressure, but they were able to see that the Cass side out at that time like they couldn't at the start of the game. But I think they used up their errors, whereas Cass kind of spread theirs out a little bit more over the next rest of the game. The young winger Fran Goldthorpe, who was outstanding in this game after having a really bad start. I mean, the first involvement she probably had was getting beat by her opposite number for the first try that Castleford scored. Her second involvement was that kick that dipped towards her feet that she couldn't quite take and she knocked on, and that set up the field position for the second Castleford try. But after that, her running, I mean, she broke so many tackles and she was constantly a threat and always looked like she was going to at some point really get the better of her opposite numbers, and of course she did for her 2 tries in that second half.
Yeah, I think when you